Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Dai, and today I'm going to be talking about the pros and cons of collecting manga. I was tagged by Justy's Cave to talk about this topic, and it's just really to have a conversation about what I think are the pros and cons of collecting, I'm going to say manga. His video is linked down in the description box below, but his video just basically says the pros and cons of collecting. I'm going to specify mine to books and manga because that's what this channel is about. But yeah, let's just have a chat. So obviously the first thing that comes to mind, I think for everybody when we talk about collecting something, is money and space. Those are probably the two biggest concerns people have when they collect things. Obviously, collecting anything costs money and takes up space. And for a lot of us, we don't have an exorbitant amount of space. I am one of those people. And so for me, that's not, to be honest, it's not really something I concern myself with. I have a small home. I do live with my mother and my daughter, and we have bookshelves everywhere. We have bookshelves in every room of our house, and we are all readers. My mom doesn't read manga, but she reads books, and so we have a collection of those, and we have manga, which I have a shared collection with my daughter. And so our house is full of books and manga. And I'm okay with that. Like, those are things that bring me joy. Now, it does cost money, and I do try to budget myself out. I have talked about this before, but for those of you who haven't watched any of my other videos, I make a list at the beginning of every month of the titles that I am interested in that are releasing in that month. And I try to keep it to one page. So I think that's about 15 or 20 volumes will fit on that page. And for a while, that method of budgeting was working well for me. But now that I am going back to the store every month and running my manga club meetings, I am spending a little bit more money. Now, I am someone who has bills to pay, but I also have a salaried income. So I don't really buy a lot of other things like for fun besides books or manga. So that's where my money goes. We don't go out to eat often, and yeah, if we do, it doesn't really cut into my manga buying money. So yeah, I do save for retirement as well. And I have the normal like mortgage and car payments and things like that. So yeah, space and money are two of the biggest cons, I would say, to collecting. Now, like I said, I do share a collection with my daughter, my manga collection, and that kind of brings a few other things into the conversation. So obviously, because there are two of us that I am buying for, not everything I buy for my daughter is something that I'm immediately thinking I'd be interested in. Now, I do read a lot wider than my daughter does. My daughter will not read a lot of the things that I purchase for myself. But at the same time, because our collection is shared, if at any time either of us decide, hey, I want to try that series out, we can, because it's there. It's available to us and we don't have to like go out and purchase it. So there's that like pro of availability if and when we want to read something that maybe the other purchased that we weren't interested in before. So that's a really good thing. Obviously, a con to having a shared collection is if and when my daughter decides to move out, what will I allow her to take with her? We haven't really talked about that yet. She is still going to college, and so yeah, I'm sure that time will come, and I may make her purchase her own copies of certain series like Haikyuu and things like that. Haikyuu does live in her room, and I guess I'll talk about that a little bit. Like I said before, we do have bookshelves all over our house. So there's a bookshelf in my daughter's room, and that bookshelf has all of the manga series that she is interested in reading. And I have 2 bookshelves in my room, and I have a collection of books and manga in my room. So the manga that is in my room is probably something my daughter will not read. That's why it's in my room. Then there are 3 or 4 bookshelves out here in the living room where I film. You see one of them sometimes when it's cool enough to film in that corner. And that's full of manga that are series that both of us are interested in. And then behind that bookshelf are actual novels for both my mom and I to go through, and if my daughter ever decides that she's interested in picking up a novel, that's where she'd find it. And then there is a bookshelf in my mom's room, and those are all books that only she will probably ever read because a lot of them are definitely not things that I am currently interested in or haven't been interested in up to this point in my life. And so, yeah, that's kind of how we section out everything. And so, yeah, I never ever looked at my collection as a collection. I've always looked at it as a retirement plan, part of my retirement plan, not for reselling purposes, but for entertainment when I am unable to spend money on entertainment. I think we all know that at some points in our life, we are probably going to be unable to work and make an income. And right now, I am making an income and saving for retirement and also investing in future entertainment for my retirement. I can also tell you that there have been a couple times in my life where I haven't had a job. Well, I wouldn't say a couple times. There was one time in my life where I couldn't find employment. And that was when I moved from Hawaii to the mainland. I had such a hard time finding employment. Nobody wanted to hire me because I was overqualified, I believe is the term that they used, which I've said it before, is the dumbest reason not to hire somebody. That was a kind of a low point in my life. Being here on the mainland, where I never lived anywhere outside of Hawaii at that time, getting used to the new environment, getting used to a new area, and just getting used to new people. I didn't really have anything besides the books that we had shipped from Hawaii to the mainland. And so that took up a lot of my time. Plus, my daughter was very young then. She wasn't in school yet. And so, I was able to spend a lot of time with her, which is fine and great and all of those wonderful things. But, yeah, I didn't have money to go out and have a nice meal or go to the movies. I had the books that I had at home. And so I think that's where a lot of this mindset for me comes from, is the fact that there was that point in my life where I didn't have money to spend on entertainment, and I had my books, I had a library, and that's kind of what got me through until I was able to find a job and make an income, and a salaried income at that. And so that was one time that really kind of pushed this mindset for me. Another time was when we were on furlough. There was a time where at my job they were just letting people go because they couldn't afford to pay them. The economy was really bad. Our industry was making things bad. And yeah, so we had opted to have a 6-month, is what we thought at the time, pay cut. So we were giving 20% of our income back to our agency. So we were getting 20% less just so that more of us could keep our jobs. Luckily, I had worked for a small business at the time. I still work for that company, but we were bought by a larger agency. But at the time, we were sacrificing to help other employees keep their jobs, because we're like, wait, what's going on? And so, we sacrificed for what we thought was going to be for 6 months. It ended up being 10 years. We had a 20% pay cut for 10 years. And so, yeah, obviously you learn to adjust with the lower amount of income, and then not having those cost of living increases and things like that, any kind of pay raise. But we were able to maintain our benefits, which was great. And yeah, so that was another time in my life where there wasn't a lot of extra money to go around. And so that also kind of helped put me in this mindset to spend the money when I can on future entertainment. So I do look at my collection as more of a retirement plan, as kind of a library, for the eventuality of when I may not be able to have a steady income anymore, or just, be at that point in my life where I'm ready to retire. And so, yeah, I don't think a lot of other people in the manga tube, maybe even booktube space have that same mind frame. I haven't ever heard anybody kind of talk about that, but that's kind of where I am with the things that I buy. I am very comfortable having a large backlog of things that I have on my shelves unread, because I do intend on getting to them. I just don't want to have a shelf full of things that I've already read and only are able to read those things later. I know there's a big push with a lot of people on BookTube, on MangaTube, to read everything that you have. Get yourself down to a 0 TBR. And that's not something I'm interested in, because if I have a 0 TBR, I'm never going to have anything new. I won't be able to explore new worlds and, have something new unless I actually just go out and buy it then. So, yeah, for me, having a large backlog is a pro. For others, having a large backlog is a con. So, I guess that's where it kind of fits into this conversation. And while I have a large backlog and obviously am running out of space, I don't feel burdened by that like other people do, I think. I don't ever really unhaul titles, and if I do unhaul them, I take them to a little free library and leave them there because I just don't want to have to deal with the hassle of putting them up for sale and then packaging them up and then taking them to the post office and all of that, and then worrying about if the quality of what I've put up is acceptable to the person that's bought it. I don't want to deal with any of that. So I do take anything that I decide that I won't ever want to read again to the little free library to share with others, but I don't do that often. And for those of you who don't know what a little free library is, it's a little like hut of books that you can find in your neighborhood. Maybe there is a website that you can go to see where the closest little free library to you is, and it's basically a take one leave one situation. And so I do use little free libraries quite a bit, though I haven't been to one since the lockdown. I am itching to go, but yeah, that's how I unhaul, or where I unhaul, but I don't unhaul often, and I don't unhaul a lot. For me, a lot of times with things that I read, even if it's not something that I really, really enjoy, I always have that kind of thought in the back of my head as to, what if I want to read this later on down the road and it's out of print and I can't find a copy, or I have to pay through my nose to get a copy? I don't want to have to deal with that either. So that kind of goes with the whole supply chain like issues that are going on right now, and the low inventory and not being able to find things right now. I am so thankful that I am in a situation where I can go into a bookstore and buy anything I want to buy when I want to buy it. I know a lot of people aren't in that situation, but I am, so I can pick up those titles and hold it for a rainy day, or when I'm able to read it, when I want to read it. But yeah, for me, I have that big thought in my mind always of, if I let this go, am I ever going to want to read it again? And if that answer is yes, then there's no point in me unhauling it. I am so afraid that something that I could let go is never ever going to be available for me to read ever again. Like finding that thing, if something like itches at me and says, hey, I want to read this, and I just can't find it anywhere, I'm just going to be super irritated with myself because I had it, I read it, and I let it go. And why'd you do that, Di? So again, that's probably more of a personal thing for me than it is for others. If you've had those kinds of thoughts, though, let me know down in the comments below, because I'd love to meet more people who kind of think that way. But yeah, that's kind of a con to unhauling things, at least for me. In the future, wanting to read something that I had, and then it's just out of print and unable to be repurchased. So yeah, I guess the last thing I want to kind of talk about are different editions. That could be a pro and a con, I would say. For example, let's talk about single volumes versus omnibus volumes versus hardback editions. There are a lot of series that come out that have single volumes, obviously, and then sometimes they get put into omnibus volumes, whether that be paperback omnibus volumes or hardback omnibus volumes. And then you have special edition hardback volumes, like how they're releasing Full Metal Alchemist. Actually, that is a good title to talk about, because that has single volumes, it has omnibus volumes, and it has the special edition hardbacks that are coming out. I actually own Full Metal in the omnibus paperback versions, the 3-in-1s from Viz. And when you're collecting, how do you know that down the road a publisher is going to be releasing something like a special edition hardback version? You don't. And how do you decide, if you have one version already, to spend the money again and buy the upgraded special edition versions? I don't know the answer to that personally. If you have an answer to that, also let me know that down in the comments below, because I think that would be something interesting to kind of chat about. I have been purchasing the special edition hardback versions of Soul Eater, but that's only because I only had one volume of the single editions. I didn't have any of the other ones, and instead of buying the single editions, I decided that I was just going to go with the hardback special editions, because I really liked how it looked. And because I didn't have very many already, I only had the one volume and the single editions, it wasn't a hard thing for me to decide to invest in the special edition version. But for example, I have a whole set of the Full Metal Alchemist 3-in-1 editions. I have the entire thing in the 3-in-1 editions. Do I want to switch to the special edition hardbacks that are coming out? I have been fighting with myself on this one, because those special edition hardbacks are gorgeous. They are gorgeous. But I've already invested all of this money in the 3-in-1s, which I haven't read yet. I've read the first one. Are the 3-in-1 versions a version that I hate? No, they're not. I actually enjoy reading the 3-in-1s. I'm reading through the Bleach 3-in-1s right now, and I'm enjoying that experience. I don't know what other things would be something that would persuade me to reinvest in those hardcover editions. But, you know, hardcover editions, special editions, omnibus editions, reissues are things that happen all the time in manga, or even in books. If you want to talk about novels, there are special editions coming out from all these different places. And which ones do you get? Do you get the ones from the UK version versus the US version? Do you get the special edition from Fairy Loot or Illumicrate or anything like that? Like, it's kind of daunting to think about. And do you invest the extra money in getting multiple editions? Are they just going to sit on your shelf and collect dust if you get multiple editions? Yeah, that's something that I struggle with a lot. Special edition releases, re-releases, to decide whether or not it is something that I should reinvest in, because it is an investment. Like I said before, it's an investment in my future entertainment, in my happiness. And so, yeah, it's something that I'm constantly questioning, whether or not to reinvest in a special edition shiny re-release or a new hardback version or something. How do you decide what to reinvest in. Like I said, comment down below and let me know what kinds of things you think about when you decide to go ahead and switch from the version that you already have and reinvest money into a second version of that same series. I would really be interested to hear, because it might help me with my ponderings. And this is why I have this channel, to talk about these things with other people and make friends and hear other people's views as to how they go about collecting things. It's very interesting for me to hear those things, so please leave me a comment down below and let me know. But I think those are the only things, or all the things, that I wanted to talk about in this video. It's gonna be a long one, but I kind of enjoyed having this little chat talking just about a topic. So thanks, Justy, for tagging me in this. If you would like to talk about this comment as well, please feel free to do so. You can say that I tagged you, and definitely let me know when you've done it so that I can go and watch that video. And down in the comments below, I would really love to hear all of your thoughts on this topic. And if nothing else, and you would just like to let me know that you were here, if you could leave me a penguin emoji down in the comments below, that would be greatly appreciated. That would really help me out, and that will do it for me today. So I hope you're all doing great. I hope you're all safe and healthy. And until next time, take care and smile always. Bye.